All right, I hope you guys are doing well. We are moving on now. So Friday you took your chapter test. Okay, chapter 3, well, 4 tests it was. Express powers, delegated, concurrent, reserved, you name it. And we talked about states' rights, okay, and how territories become states. So we're gonna move on today. We're gonna go over the test to start off, and then I want to just introduce the next chapter, which I will post vocab here soon. I'll go over the vocab tomorrow with you on some of the vocab terms with that. All right. So remember, 12/7. Okay, we know that as Pearl Harbor Day. Okay, so never forget. So read an article, look up a video on Pearl Harbor to try to remember. Pay tribute to those who were lost during that, which pushed the United States into World War II. So please check that out. It's an important day. You should never forget. All right, so real quick, let's go over the exam. Okay, so express powers directly stated in the Constitution. Reserve powers are state powers. Concurrent powers are both state and national government. Delegated powers includes expressed, implied, and inherent powers. And implied powers are based on a necessary and proper clause or elastic clause. So they're not stated in the Constitution, but they are stretched, right? The national powers are stretched to include certain rights and powers that the national government has that aren't specifically stated. So government control of immigration is the example of delegated powers. This makes the acts and treaties of the United States paramount to the state's supremacy clause. The power is denied to the national government by the Constitution. We know this as tax exports. Okay, tax exports. This is a constitutional obligation of the national government to the states. Protect states from invasions. This is a constitutional obligation of the states to the national government. Pay for all national elections. So describe the steps of the state admission process. We know that there needs to be a referendum. Everybody in that territory needs to agree that they want to be a state. So there's a vote. Okay. After that, enabling act is pushed on to the territory, which they create a constitution that resembles the United States Constitution. After that, Congress votes on it, see if they are able to become a state. Okay. And then after that, the president signs off. Why do you think the Nationalists, Federalists favor categorical grants that are given for specific uses, while the states' rights people like to see federal block grants with no strings attached? So Federalists, Nationalists, they are giving out the grants usually, that money, the government-funded money, and they want to see it be used for specific purposes. Okay, this might be, like I said before, technology, right, in education. It has to be used specifically for technology. It might be enhancing Wi-Fi, might be buying and purchasing laptops or tablets, who knows, whatever it might be. And for states' rights, this might be something that people at a local level, they have a better decision, a better insight of what that money should be spent on. So let's say the national government wants to send it for like abroad for education, right? The local area, the school district's like, you know what, we could really use that money to help create different types of athletic fields, or we can use that money to try to help shape up our building because it's falling apart. Or we could use it to help with the heating and cooling of the building. Or it might be with textbooks, technology, whatever it might be. So the states' rights people think, that money should be no strings attached just because they have a better insight, a better thought of what that money should be used for to help enhance the learning at that school. All right, so describe how federalism prevents one political party from becoming too dominant in political matters at the state, local, and national level. Well, we talked about this before, okay? Right after the Reconstruction era, we know that the Republicans held office pretty much from, well, even before that. So 1832 all the way up until World War I, when Woodrow Wilson was elected. So Republicans held for a long, long span there of time that of power at the national level. Even after the Civil War, after the Civil War with the Reconstruction and everything, the national government was mostly Republican. So the states, specifically in the southern states, because of federalism, the state and local areas were still governed by democratic regions, which means that there is not a monopoly of a political party at one time. So that gives people the say and representation. Even though if the national level is, let's say, Republican, that gives the people at the local and state level their ability to represent themselves, pass laws, legislation, establish policies for their viewpoints at a different political party, and vice versa, right? We know at the Democratic level, at the national level, really from 1952 all the way up until pretty much, from World War One, moving up until 1952, there's a pretty much span of Democratic presidents, and at the local level and state level, we might have Republican representation, which really balance that power out. It just makes sure that one political party doesn't become too strong. Okay. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing. We can't really have a dominant power or a political party coming into control, because then you really won't see the viewpoints of another person. A representation towards one side is going to be lopsided. Okay. And there's many cases where, specifically in time of depression, during the Great Depression, Democratic Party helping people out with government-funded agencies, jobs, and with Congress, okay, with the House of Representatives, the Senate, focusing on one political party, that allows them to pass legislation, laws, policies out at a fast, alarming rate, which many people think, you know what, maybe that's not a good thing. But with federalism, that balances that power out at the local, state, national level. All right, there you go. That's the quiz. So now we're going to move on to constitutional freedoms. Okay, I know we're getting into chapter 5 here, but this is chapter 13 in your books. So when you come back, we'll do some reading out of chapter 13. But this is an interesting chapter because I think this is very important, because although you have constitutional freedoms, there's limitations to them. Okay, there's many court cases that are established to try to make sure that people just freely can't say and do whatever they want. There has to be some sort of limitations to them, right? Okay. So the First Amendment rights, which we're going to talk about, and some important court cases explaining some of these limitations to these rights, are going to be explained. And it's important to know these court cases, which we're going to talk about here in the next coming days. So we have freedom of speech, which we know, freedom of press, religion, assembly, and petition the government with that First Amendment. Okay, and we'll talk about some types of speech more tomorrow, and an important court case with symbolic speech. And I think it's important to know, and I think you guys will enjoy it a lot, specifically because it's in a school. Okay, all right, but that's all I want to go over today. I'll have the vocab for you tomorrow, along with the court case, which I want to talk about, Tinker versus Des Moines. Hey, have a good one, guys. Take care, and can't wait to see you soon. Can't wait to see you soon. Oh, we don't want psych up here. Here you go. We'll see you guys later. Have a good one. Remember, okay, Pearl Harbor.